This is the Deseret News National Edition, when your family needs to know more.
Good morning and welcome to the Deseret News National Edition. I'm Dave McCann. We begin with the plight of Africa. My guest this morning wants Americans to realize that Africa is not about the 3 Ds of death, despair, and disease. Amini Kajunju is the CEO of the Africa America Institute, the U.S.-based international organization dedicated to strengthening human capacity of Africans and promoting the continent's development. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is a very unique time because whenever we think of Africa, we think of Ebola, and your job is to kind of change the way the world perceives Africa. How are you doing with that?
Well, I think, we're one of those institutions in New York that has, for 61 years, not only tried to educate the next future leaders of Africa, but also help Americans understand that, like you said, Africa is not the 3 Ds, and that we are a people who are like everybody else. We get up every morning, we go to work, we send our kids to school, we get married, we feel pain, we feel joy, and we have all the wants and needs of other human beings around the world. But I think that gets lost, particularly with all the bad news that sometimes come out of the continent.
Well, I think if you could stand on a hilltop and scream, it might be that that Ebola is affecting 3 countries.
That's right.
And there are 52 others where the virus doesn't exist.
That's right. That's right. There's 3 countries that unfortunately are really having a major issue with Ebola, but there are 54 countries on the continent, and the rest, many are doing a lot to help the countries that are suffering from Ebola, but the rest, everyone is going about their business and they're not affected by this terrible virus.
Nelson Mandela, the late leader, talked so much about the youth movement and how important it was for the next generation. Well, you have a generation developing in Africa that's
Yes.
gonna what, triple the workforce
That's
here
right.
in just a few years. There is a wave of youth coming forward. What is your message, and how much time do you focus on that group?
Oh, well, actually, they're a major focus. At AAI, we really believe that if we can give the youth of Africa the skills, the education, the motivation necessary, then they will be a force of good and of economic development and of innovation in the future. If we don't give our youth the education and the skills that they need, then we will have a major problem. As you know, young people who don't have jobs,
Right.
who don't have an education, will do negative things, and we want to avoid that as a people.
So how does it work with your group based in New York,
Yeah.
which is a long ways away from Africa?
That's right.
How does it get back there and make a difference?
That's a really good question. So we basically try to take funds from American corporations and other corporations that are interested in developing the African continent, and then we use it within African institutions, particularly educational institutions, which is really where we focus on. We want African educational institutions to have the capacity to provide the skills and education necessary so that the future of Africa is educated and ready for a 21st century world. So that's how we do it. We transport the knowledge, the money, the innovation, and we also want to make sure that we do exchanges. All the innovation isn't coming from America. There's innovation coming from Africa as well. So making sure that that innovation gets disseminated throughout the continent is also part of our mission.
When you're back on this program in 10 years,
Yes.
what will we be saying about Africa?
Well, my hope and desire is that we'll be saying that Africa is a place of innovation. Africa is a place where you can do business. Africa is a place where you can get a great education. And Africa is a place where you can have a great life. That's what I want people to say.
And if you could get into the United States school system,
Yes.
would it be, hey, look, learn your geography a little bit, and the world is much bigger than the borders we see here. I experienced that for myself when I went to cover the Olympics in Russia for the first time, and you look around and the first thought was, hey, the folks over here aren't waiting for America to come save us.
That's right.
They're living their lone lives already just
right.
fine, and sometimes we have our borders and think that everyone must think the way we do.
Well, I'd say 2 things. Indeed, learn the geography. It's definitely one of the frustrating fascinating things about living in America is that many Americans don't know geography, and particularly African geography. But the second thing I'll say is, if you want to make an impact on the continent, make sure that you understand the context in which you want to make an impact in, and make sure that you bring African friends and colleagues along with you to help you do the work. If you go in it alone, you'll have blind spots, and you may actually do more harm than good.
Amini, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Congratulations and good luck moving ahead. And I'll see you here in 10 years.
All right, I'll be here.
All right, we've got a date. Looking at money this morning, there are a lot of great ideas for business out there, but most entrepreneurs need help getting those ideas off the ground. Deanie Wimmer introduces us to a pair of angel investors setting up shop in an historic church to inspire entrepreneurs who are rich in spirit but poor in cash.
Why not do it in a glorious church right downtown on tracks across from our public library?
I am always amazed at the entrepreneurial spirit and the amount of entrepreneurs that are here in Utah.
There hasn't been a church service in this chapel for months now, but soon the 121-year-old Central Christian Church will be transformed into the Church and State Business Incubator.
Let there be light.
Co-founders Ron Heffernan and Thomas Lee hope to attract followers with their no-strings-attached approach.
And what's dramatically different right off the bat is that we're not charging rent. Entrepreneurs that qualify and get accepted immediately get a place, a safe haven to start and run and operate their business rent-free.
We are not in this to make money. We're in this to build a community.
In this community, the faithful will get counsel from patent attorneys, accountants, designers, and creative teams.
So this location here is going to be 4 glass enclosed offices where companies that are providing resources for the entrepreneurs who are going to be down in the chapel area.
It's just the kind of supportive, non-predatory environment that Lee and Heffernan could have used when they were young and naive, but bursting with ideas.
I took older, more experienced people to help me out. And at the end of the day, they saw an opportunity with me and they really took advantage.
One startup company's already taking advantage of Church and State's generous spirit. DevPoint Labs has set up shop in the church.
If you get a follow-up at the end, it's like, hey, you have any questions? Always take the chance.
Here, a dozen students are in the midst of an 11-week computer coding boot camp, complete with instruction in interviewing tactics.
What would I be doing? I totally know that stuff.
Church and State's message is catching on with those who believe Salt Lake has ideas that can be marketed to the world.
So there's this community of expertise that can both find people to hire, work on projects together, and then inspire each other. This is Penblade, which
Dr. Brandon Rosenhan was inspired to design a safer scalpel that works much like a pen. After engineers at Salt Lake's BioInnovations Gateway, a life sciences incubator, tested the product, Rosenhan started marketing the Penblade worldwide. Now he's hoping to spin some new medical device projects off to Church and State.
now a Utah-born company based off both my idea as a physician and other physicians that collaborated and invested is going to have an impact worldwide, and that's pretty exciting.
Moving an entrepreneur's exciting ideas from drawing board to marketable product takes time and can frustrate would-be startup businesses. The process can be accelerated with the use of 3D printers, like the one Salt Lake's Zenny Kinetic is equipping Church and State with.
I love what they're doing over there. They've got a really good mindset about it, a really good strategy, and a really good approach.
Nico McIntyre calls the 3D printer the technology of the future, and he calls Church and State the future of business incubators.
I truly believe in what they're doing over there. It's going to help a lot of people get a lot of new ideas and concepts and businesses off the ground.
The economic evangelists at Church and State are already preaching the benefits of their business incubator. They know the potential here in Utah.
The state is a little more than 2 million people, yet wherever you go, every corner, there's entrepreneurial spirit. And it's really exciting to be in Utah because of that.
Deanie Wimmer reporting Church and State hopes to have most of the incubator open by Christmas and fill out the rest of the office and meeting space by late spring. Next, getting a case before the Supreme Court's like winning the Super Bowl. And for the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty, well, they've done it 3 years in a row. Coming up, the president of the Becket Fund will join us to discuss their latest case, a prisoner's right to grow a beard.